The time being 5 o'clock, and this being the Plymouth Select Board, I will call to order this, the first part of the Tuesday, August 26th, 2025 meeting of Plymouth's Select Board. This meeting is taking place in a hybrid format. Members of the board are joining us here in person at the Great Hall. Members of the board may be joining us virtually over the Zoom webinar platform. Members of the public that wish to participate may join us here at the Great Hall here at Town Hall, or they may join us via the Zoom webinar platform. The login information for which is included on the agenda that is posted on the town website. The meeting can also be observed through Comcast Channel 9 or Verizon Channel 47, or via the streaming YouTube channel for the local scene. Members of the public are also reminded that pursuant to Massachusetts general law, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of the Select Board after notifying the chair, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair, so as to not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any recordings. At present, we are aware only of the recording being made by the local scene for the television broadcast and Zoom and YouTube streaming. With that out of the way, we will move into the first item on our agenda, that being the reading of the executive session language. The Select Board this evening will hold an executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. This is in relation to opioid litigation-complaint amendment, as well as separately opioid litigation-settlements. Do I have a motion from the board in regards to entering into the executive session?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Golden. Do I have a second?
Second.
Been seconded by Ms. Iaquinto. Any discussion about whether or not to enter into executive session? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. We will enter into executive session. We will be returning into open session at approximately 6 p.m. Thank you. Thank you. We will now call to order this second portion of the Select Board meeting for Tuesday, August 26th, 2025. Please join the board in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So we read the preamble and relevant language prior to opening the executive session, so we can move right into our agenda. The first item on our agenda being recognition of life-saving actions by some Plymouth lifeguards. We are joined by Ann Slusser, Director of Recreation, and we are joined by Michelle Brady, Commissioner of Health and Human Services.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ann Slusser. I am the Recreation Director here in the town of Plymouth. I'm proud to be standing before you today to honor Gage Chastain and Ashley Godfrey, two lifeguards, and both Plymouth residents. Ashley recently graduated from Plymouth South High School. Gage is a junior at Plymouth North right now on the football team. There are two lifeguards who on Thursday, July 31st, demonstrated extraordinary bravery, jumping into the cold waters of Plymouth Beach to rescue two distressed young swimmers. While on duty near lifeguard stand number 2, they had spotted two young swimmers struggling against strong winds and powerful waves near the jetty. Unable to make their way back to shore, the frightened children began calling for help. In that critical moment, Gage and Ashley responded without hesitation. Recognizing the immediate danger, they ran into the cold water and swam directly to the distressed swimmers. Battling the rough waters, they reached the children, secured them, and guided them back to shore safely. Once on land, Gage and Ashley quickly assessed both children to ensure they had not swallowed water and confirmed that they were unharmed. Their swift, decisive actions and unwavering courage prevented what could have been a tragic outcome for those two swimmers. They embodied the highest standards of lifeguard service and public safety in that time. So thank you for both of you. So first up, Gage Chastain, I have your award, if you want to come on up. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And here's your award.
Appreciate it.
And Ashley, if you want to come on up too. Thank you again. And here's your award. Thank you so much. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Any comments from members of the board? Mr. Golden?
Just on behalf of the Select Board, thank you folks for your incredible bravery and for helping out those in need. You're a hallmark of what makes this community great.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes, and I echo those sentiments, but I also want to add that I know you probably thought you were just doing your job, but you made a huge difference in the lives of a number of families, I'm sure. So thank you very much for what you did.
Any other comments? I would just echo the comments of my colleagues. Obviously, it does come with the territory of being a lifeguard, but there's plenty of lifeguards that never are actually put in that situation, that they have to do that. You found yourself in that situation and acted promptly, responsibly, and made a difference. And I'm sure it's an experience that neither of you will forget, but certainly for the individuals involved that you saved, that will be something that they and their families will remember for the rest of their lives. And so your actions will echo for generations in terms of what those people will accomplish and the experiences they will have and the lives they will touch based on your actions and life-saving activities. So thank you very much, and we appreciate your efforts in service to your community and those around you. Thank you. All right. That brings us into the next item on our agenda, that being licenses. Wish of the board in regards to the listed licenses.
Mr. Chair, unless my colleagues would like to address any of them individually, I would make a motion that we approve the amplified music permit and the revocation of liquor license as advertised on our agenda.
As a group?
As a group.
Okay. Mr. Golden has moved that we take those two items that he mentioned listed under licenses as a group. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Iaquinto has seconded. Any discussion in regards to those two items? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. We have approved the two listed licenses items. That brings us into administrative notes. Do we have wish of the board in regards to the listed administrative notes?
Mr. Chair, unless my colleagues would like to take any of them individually, I would make a motion to approve administrative notes 1 through 14 as a group.
I'll second that.
And 1 second.
I think you're looking for the applicant who revoked their application. I believe that would be under Administrative Note 9, Kayana Adarkwa.
Well, so there's been a couple minor adjustments to the admin notes. So the most recent admin note listing is 1 through 16. But my understanding is that 15 and 16 have been pulled. Those are in regards to town meeting articles 11 and 12. And then you were mentioning, Mr. Golden,
Yeah, I believe it, administrative note 9, that applicant withdrew their application, is that correct?
So that applicant applied to 2 different committees, and she wants to keep her application at No Place for Hate,
Okay.
but withdraw it from the airport committee.
So she withdrew the other one, not that one.
Okay,
So what you have as 9 is on the final agenda actually listed as 11, but it's the same substantive note.
okay,
So there's notes 1 through 14 on the posted agenda as a group.
correct.
Okay?
Second.
All right, Mr. Golden has moved. Mr. Quintel has seconded. Any discussion in regards to the listed admin notes? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. So that brings us into the next listed item on the agenda, and that being the Airport Community Advisory Committee. Mr. Cohan, was there something you wanted to bring up?
Yes, I did. I was interested in if we could hold off on the final appointment to this commission. I know the town was going through its records and seeing vacancies and letting, and taking applications. But I think that it would be important that we give it a little bit more time so all the interested parties that are interested in the Airport Advisory Committee are allowed to get their resumes in on time so that we can look at those and do an appointment in the very near future. Obviously, it's important that the airport and the residents work together. And I think by extending this a couple of weeks to get those applications in and then appoint would be moving in the right direction.
Okay, so you'd like to postpone the appointment, and you'd like to reopen applications for the Plymouth resident seat on the community, on the Citizens Advisory Committee, my apologies. Is that a correct summation of your request?
Correct.
All right, so I will take that as a motion by Mr. Cohan. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Has been moved, it has been seconded. Any discussion from members of the board in regards to the postponement and re-advertisement of this? Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no problem re-advertising this. I think I can gain some goodwill with folks in the neighborhoods who are concerned and highly invested in the airport issues. I do think that in general, we ought to stick to the advertised deadlines. But given that this is a Citizens Advisory Committee and several citizens have asked for this, I think we should do a slight postponement and re-advertise just for this circumstance.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Golden. Any further discussion? Ms. Iaquinto?
Okay.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is a case where I think more communication probably would have been very useful, because this is a very active citizens advisory group, and they have a lot of issues that they're very concerned about and have been asking for more open communication. So I do think that it would be in the community's best interest if we opened it up and we invited more people to raise their hand. With that said, I will add that the people that we do have who have applied are really very highly qualified, and I hope that they will continue to be interested and that we'll see them here in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Ms. Iaquinto. Mr. Quintel?
Jade or Derek, did somebody from Carver actually apply? Because
No.
I sit with, some of the people in Carver on the county board, so I'd like to give them another nudge. So I also think it's a good, where they're a neighbor, and they should really have a representative at the table also.
We had asked their,
I thought so, yeah.
we had asked their board to send like their preferred candidate. Last time they did, they sent us more than their seat and didn't make any choices. So we'd like them to vet their candidate and then,
Put forward,
yes,
if you don't
right.
mind, I'll reach out to them.
that would be great. That would
Okay.
be great. I know Jade has tried as well, but
I'm not saying I want to,
But more.
but I know, yeah. I'll know
More is
somebody
better.
I sit
Right,
with,
that would be
so I'll
good.
ask.
Thank you, appreciate that. Any other discussion in regards to postponement? So I will say two things. So first, we can re-advertise for approximately, if this motion does carry, we could re-advertise for approximately 2 weeks with the anticipation, because then the agenda needs to be collated and put together, so the actual appointment would be about 30 days from now, thereabouts, if we were to do that. I take that to be the meaning of Mr. Cohan's motion. He wanted to extend it for 2 weeks. So if the motion does carry, that would be the process that we would follow. However, I do believe that there is a value in having deadlines that are clearly established. This is something that was posted on the town website, along with other vacancies when it became available. It was also advertised on social media that this vacancy was available. And I believe that if people have an interest in this or other boards or committees, and they want to be involved in this type of decision-making, there is an amount of reasonable expectation on those individuals to pay attention to when these availabilities pop up and vacancies pop up, so that they can adhere to those deadlines, because this board has not just this, but many other boards and committees that we have to appoint to, all of which have to adhere to deadlines, and we need to be, in my opinion, consistent in how we apply those rules. So while I appreciate Mr. Golden's statement that he's willing to make a one-time exception based on this being a Citizens Advisory Committee, I just feel personally that we should adhere to the guidelines and strictures that we put forward consistently, so that people have a reasonable expectation that those guidelines will be respected. So I will be voting no, but individual members are certainly able to vote however they choose on the postponement of this particular item. I'd also point out that for those members that did apply, there is one vacancy and 2 applicants from Plymouth. There was a 3rd applicant that withdrew, but obviously 3 other Plymouth residents did find out about this vacancy and apply for it, as evidence that it was advertised sufficiently. In any event, any other discussion? Here, yes, Ms. Iaquinto.
Yeah, I would just ask that we also send the timeline to the chair of the Citizens Advisory Commission and also the airport commissioners, just so that they can announce it at their meetings as well, and also have the airport share it on their website, if we could do that.
Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And that was Mr. Cohan voting twice, but yes each time.
Thank you, Bill.
And then Mr. Quintel voted yes.
Okay.
All right, and I will vote no. So in a vote of 4-1 with no abstentions, the motion does carry. We will postpone that item in the timeline outlined. So that brings us to the next item on our agenda, that being the Climate Action Net Zero Committee. That was an admin notice. So that brings us to the 2 applicants. Are we joined by Richard O'Hearn? We are not joined in person. Are we joined virtually? We are not. Very well. Are we joined by Diana Smith? We are not joined in person. Are we joined virtually? We are not. Interesting. And we did receive a note that Megan Snee has withdrawn. Wish of the board in regards to the 2 applicants. There is a one-year term that is available. Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Generally, if no one shows up for an appointment process, I'd suggest that we move on in our agenda.
Okay. Mr. Golden is willing to move forward without making an appointment. Other members of the board have an opinion, given our absentee applicants? Mr. Cohan?
I do believe, were they notified to be here? And
Yes.
did you make, did they receive the emails? Did they respond in any way?
They were sent to their listed emails that they included in their application materials.
I would have to double check if they responded. I don't know off the top of my head. But I send the same email with the virtual link to the meeting and the time and location of the meeting to every applicant.
I'd have to join David. I just feel uncomfortable appointing someone that I haven't been able to interview.
Okay. Other opinions? All right. If there's no motion to appoint an applicant, I would just move forward and we would similarly re-advertise, and maybe we could take it up at the same time as the other one, or some other time when people deign to come in and express why they would like to serve on a board or committee that they applied to.
Sounds great.
All right, well, that brings us into the next item on our agenda, that being the fiscal year 2026 Goals and Priorities presentation by Mr. Brindisi.
All right, good evening. Derek Brindisi, Town Manager. So this is the annual public presentation to the Select Board Goals and Priorities. A little history. We started this process in the summer of 2022. It's the first time we had set goals for the community. And then we've done it every year since. And as we just completed in June, we do a year in review and we try to measure ourselves as to what we were able to accomplish the previous year based upon the goals that we set for that fiscal year. So how does this, I want to give a little background on how this process works first. This is a process that begins with our department heads working directly with their division heads on looking at what they think is important to move their divisions forward. And then those conversations are then communicated to myself and the assistant town manager through a goal-setting process with each one of the department heads. And that information is gleaned from those conversations to then develop a set of recommendations that we bring to the select board based upon, again, 2 previous sets of meetings where as town manager, I present a set of recommendations to the board, and then that translates into a workshop setting, which the board held last week for 3 hours. And then tonight's presentation is a culmination of all those conversations back to the community. This year we have 9 areas, I call them buckets, areas of priorities that we set, and we have 81 goals that the select board spoke about last week. So I will not, because it's 81, I will not read them to the group. These will be posted on the website. If I can get this to work. This presentation will be posted on the website. This isn't working for some reason. Try it now. There we go. All right, so this presentation, once complete, will be set on the website. The community will now know what we're going to focus on over the course of the next 11 months. Again, you'll see there's these headings, and the first one I'll start with is ensure a safe and healthy community. This is mostly our public safety departments, fire and police, and our health and human services department. So not to focus too much on any one of these, but just to bring forward some of them. As we discussed the past couple months, we have a growing concern of the use of electric bikes and scooters. Town council is prepared to bring a draft bylaw to the select board on October 14th. We're working on that right now, so if the board though approves it, we'll then move that to town meeting for April. But these are all the various goals that we set for ensure a safe and healthy community. You can read those for yourself while I keep it up there. I'll focus a little bit more of my conversation on the health assessment and health improvement plan. Our commissioner's here with us this evening. So as we reported in the past, actually we just launched the health assessment, the public viewing portion of the health assessment this past Saturday at the Waterfront Festival. We're going to collect both quantitative and qualitative data over the course of the next 12 months. That information, that data analysis will bring forward a set of priorities, which will then develop a community health improvement plan, and that'll set the vision for the community's health over the next 5 years. And you can find here, this is the QR code that we've shared both at the Waterfront Festival. It's been shared on social media. We're trying to get as many folks as possible to be engaged, help us fill out this survey. Again, this is the qualitative data collection portion of our work. And again, this information will help drive some of the priority areas in the health improvement plan. So moving on to long-term financial planning. So those are the 4 goals for financial planning. This is just a template forecasting model. Our finance director is here with us this evening. We're expecting hopefully within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we'll be able to bring forward a financial forecasting model that'll look at our inputs and our outputs, meaning our revenues and our expenses, so that we can project what our expenses and our revenues will be over the next 5 years. And again, trying to be data-driven, this will help drive a number of our decisions during the course of that time. So the next bucket area is communicate and engage with the public. So, you know, since I started in 2022, I've always talked about communication with the community. And so we've done some simple things, like our website, for example, shows with the local scene, brought on Casey Kennedy, our communications coordinator last year. And so Casey will be engaged on a couple different fronts. One is to create a comprehensive communication plan. But 2 is to really look at all of our communication strategies and then try to centralize those in one location on the town website, so our information is easy to find. So this is just a little example of what the communications team is working on as we speak. So again, trying to do as much as we can to get information out, always looking for feedback. I believe a working group will be created, be led by our communications coordinator, so that we can gather that feedback and push out the correct information. So to ensure a vibrant economic development business center as our next bucket area. So a lot of things happening over here. No pretty pictures on this one, but I just want to bring a few things to light. So we've been engaged with the Plymouth Economic Development Foundation based upon suggestions by the board to create an economic development plan. We're going to tease that out a little bit more. Hope we can create this economic development plan focused strictly on downtown. We continue to pursue the acquisition of the DCR property on Water Street, and then subsequently, hopefully, the state pier. We know that this will really boost our downtown tourism goals by acquiring this property. We have a meeting coming up with the state delegation and the state officials in the next few months to further that discussion. And so as you can see, we have 9 different areas here as well. I have, part of my town manager report, but since it's on the board, I'll bring it up. Number 8 is pursue the improvement of Bird's property. We had a meeting today with Fire and Inspectional Services. Jason Silva was here earlier. We've been told today by the contractor that they will begin the tear down of the Bird's property the end of next week. So already starting to make progress on some of these goals. So improving town infrastructure, we have 11 areas that we're going to focus on. A lot of things happening over here on infrastructure. So the Forges Field Master Plan and Hedges Pond Recreation Master Plan, again, being led by the Health and Human Services Department. Those are underway as we speak, and those two master plans will really set the stage for the future use of both these unbelievable recreation areas. So looking forward to the completion of those two master plans. The Route 80 Cemetery Project will be breaking ground this fall. And then I think a big one that's going to take a lot of time, both in staff time and some outside assistance, is looking at Memorial Hall, the different vantage points, and coming back with a final recommendation on Memorial Hall as well. So these are the two QR codes for Forges Field and Hedges Pond. So again, this will be on the town website. Folks can go to these two QR codes and provide direct feedback to those master planning processes. So protect the environment. Again, we talked about some of these things in the past. Number 3, we plan to complete the improvements at the Full Sail this fall. So we've already torn down that building and done some remediation on that property, but we plan to complete the Full Sail property this fall. A big project that's coming forward at fall town meeting, and then hopefully with town meeting approval, is this project. So this is the Downtown Resiliency Project being led by the Department of Energy and Environment, David Gould and his team. So we've talked about this in the past. This is really to make some climate improvements to the downtown area, add over 70 shade trees, to improve the walkways, making crossing the streets more pedestrian friendly, and creating using pervious materials when we can to help with some of the runoff. So again, this project, if things go well, will break ground in December. This will be a 2-year project. So strengthen the town's workforce. Again, this is really focused on our people, our staff. We have 550 employees, and so we want to make sure that we keep them front and center in the work that we do with our Human Resources Department. In particular, draw your attention to number 5. This is really focus on our police officers, to recruit and retain police officers. As you know, we've had a running vacancy of anywhere from 10 to 15 police officers each and every year. So we need to do a better job with how we think about recruiting them and retaining them over the long term. So the create efficient town government, we have 9 areas here. This is one that I can tell you that just as of last week, we've already completed. We've completed our Mass GIS mapping process. This is just an example of the Mass GIS. We sent this to Mass GIS last week. They've approved it, so this is something that we have been working on for almost 2 years now, and just nearing the finish line. So long-term goals, we have 15 long-term goals. So long-term goals really represent anywhere from like 2 to 5 years out. Certainly not we can't do everything in 12 months. But one of the big ones we've talked about since I've started is to continue to update town bylaws and policies. So this is being led by Ms. Anderton, and with the assistance of Connor Anderson. They've already done a couple presentations over the last 3 or 4 months, where we've rescinded dozens and dozens of antiquated bylaws, policies, and updated other policies. So more work has to get done so that we're working in the 21st century, both in bylaws and policies. So again, that'll take a few additional years. And this is just an example of the policy and procedures manual that will be the final product. Instead of what you see now on the website, you just see a series of policies that are just listed on the website. Jade and Connor are working on a policy and procedure manual that everything will be centralized on one document. So these are just the final long-term goals right here. You can read them for yourself. A lot of things that we need to accomplish, both in the short term and the long term. But we're looking forward to doing the best that we can on the 81 goals that were selected by the select board last week. I can tell you, though, that 81 goals is a lot. So when I try to explain this to folks, that our departments, they have their annual reoccurring work, right? So we expect the fire department to put out fires. We expect the police department to arrest bad guys. We expect the DPW to pave roads. And so then we sit with the department heads and we add additional goals on top of what they're already required to do statutorily or regulatory. And then we add these, so now we have the third layer of goals. So we are really putting a lot of pressure on our department staff to be able to continue to make progress in any way that we can. So we look forward to completing this work over the course of the next 12 months, and then measure ourselves in June. Any questions, that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brindisi, and I appreciate you highlighting that bit at the end about the department heads and division heads. This is on top of their regular work. This is on top of the goals they've set for themselves or that you had set with them in their annual review process. These are goals that the select board wants to see occur, that these department heads and division heads are the ones that are actually going to be implementing that work and doing that work by and large. So I think, that's certainly important, keeping in mind that other people are going to be doing the lion's share of the work, realizing that some of the work won't get done by no fault of the individuals, but because other things will come up,
That's right.
or that certain things will take longer to accomplish than we originally set out. Having goals, short-term, medium-term, long-term, are beneficial, keeping everybody on track, keeping Plymouth moving forward, but we also certainly understand that life happens, and that there will also be things. The good thing, the other side of that coin, though, is that when we do meet in June to review the goals that were accomplished, there will be things that weren't on this sheet of 81 goals that the different departments and divisions will have accomplished above and beyond their daily work and above and beyond the goals that you set for them, or they set for themselves in their annual reviews. So that cuts both ways, but I do think, obviously that is important. 81 goals is a lot to accomplish in 12 months, but I'm sure that everyone will do their part in moving these goals forward. Some of these goals have been a long time coming. Some of them will be the first stage of a multi-part process, and some of them will be accomplished within this year, but I just want to extend the board's thanks in advance to all of the department and division heads, as well as the line level employees who will be implementing these goals and following through on making Plymouth a better place for everyone. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments from board members? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yeah, this certainly is an ambitious agenda, and it was wonderful to be part of the discussion and to understand what the priorities of the town are, and as well as each of the departments. So I thought it was just a great exercise. I am wondering if it might be possible for us to, rather than wait till June to check in again, if perhaps we might think about doing like a mid-year check-in, maybe another workshop, because what I see this as also a blueprint for the resources that we would need to get some of this work done. Not to say that we would add resources, but just to make sure that we're prioritizing resources and that people are focusing on the things that are the most highly valued activities for the town and for their position. So just something that maybe we can think about doing mid-year.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Iaquinto. Other discussion or questions? Mr. Cohen.
Just to reiterate what Deb has indicated, I do think that, it is a challenge at 81. It's broken down. Staff is obviously going to have to be working on this, but revisiting this as a board to see benchmarks during the course of the year, I agree with Ms. Iaquinto that that should be pursued. Leave it to the staff to come back when they feel comfortable, they're ready to report on the progress.
Sure.
Mr. Quintel?
Just a suggestion, either we do it like on a slow night, if it's before our meeting, or if we have a separate night to do this, so we can take our time and be on prompt schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Quintel. Other questions or comments? All right. So I will just say, I think, given that the first workshop generated 81 goals, which I believe is more than we've ever had in a year, I would be reluctant to have another workshop, because I think 81 in 12 months is enough for any community of even this size to accomplish. But having a progress report on what we set could be beneficial. So a workshop, I would say, unless there is a mass uprising of my colleagues that they would really, really like to add additional things, I would suggest maybe a check-in mid-year of how we're doing on the 81 we set would be more beneficial, particularly perhaps around like December or January when we're doing the budgetary process, because some of the goals that we set can be used in justifying budgetary requests or increases, new initiatives, things of that nature, and explaining them to both advisory and finance and town meeting members as well. That may be a more comprehensive and beneficial use of a follow-up than adding goals 82 through 162.
Yeah, we'd appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And I can say, when Ms. Barrett sends out the budget guidance every year, she references that budget requests should be linked to select board goals. So
Yes.
we try to do the best that we can with the resources that we have. But you're absolutely right, the 81 goals will be difficult to resource this coming year.
Yes,
no doubt.
yes, okay. With that wish of the board, Mr. Golden?
Make a motion to approve the FY '26 goals as presented.
All right. Mr. Golden has moved that we approve the goals as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Iaquinto has seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. We have approved the FY '26 goals and priorities for the Select Board. That brings us into the next item, that being Article 1 of the Fall Annual Town Meeting warrant, which is an overarching article detailing supplemental budget adjustments related to the general fund, and we are joined by Finance Director Lynn Barrett.
Good evening. So I wanted to get up initially and present to you a sort of, maybe go over the budget process, because we have a couple of new members on the board as to, you know, when we started and why we're here today doing what we're doing. So we start the budget process, obviously, like in September, October of any particular fiscal year. And we determine what our estimated revenues are going to be at that time. And for the last few years, we've level funded state aid, because we're just not sure necessarily where that's going to end up lying. So when we built the budget, it was based on that. And in the materials that were sent to you, there was a summary memo from myself that also included a listing of all the items that we will be using this additional state aid for, and then a 2-page sources and uses so that you can see what the budget estimate was when we went to the April town meeting, what the changes are in our budget estimate, and what our final recommendation is for the fall town meeting. So my comments will be sort of geared towards that. So because we level funded state aid, we found out in mid-July that there was an increase of approximately $2.4 million in our state aid that was coming to the town of Plymouth. During the budget process, we communicated to all parties that be Select Board, Advisory, and Finance and Town Meeting that that additional aid, when it comes in, would be split between the town and the school using the formula that we've used for the last couple of years. So the town share would be 39%, and the school share would be 61%. So it breaks down that the school share is about 1.5 million, the town share is about 968,000. There's a table in my memo that identifies on the town side how we would be either appropriating that money, or, I'm sorry, town and school side, how would we how we would be appropriating that money at town meeting in the fall, and then some other items that need to be budgeted for on our tax rate recap sheet. So, and then included after my memo and the sources and uses is a memo from each department that needed addressing in this particular budget this year. So for example, town clerk postage, an increase of 60,000. Over the last couple of years, we've constantly had to go back and do end-of-year transfers or even reserve fund transfers for postage. We are trying to do more things electronically and online, but we still do a lot of mailing and a lot of requirements from the state and federal government to mail things. So it's just very expensive, you know, to do that. There's some additional requests for the town manager's office. There's a request from the fire department. There's a request from the town manager and myself that during the budget process, we actually cut out of the budget, we did like a vacancy factor cut on the budget. So we looked at departments that had vacancies, and we did a 15% cut of the budget based on those salaries that were vacant. So we would like to restore that cut back into the budgets because we want to fulfill and fill all of those positions. So if we put that money back in the fall, then those departments would be able to fill those positions. So that was about 303,000 of the total. And it affected the police department and all DPW divisions. The schools also provided a memo as to what they would be using their 1.5 million for. So in Article 1, the budget amendment article would be an increase to the general fund budget of $2,056,358. And I believe Jade, I think, sent all the department memos to you. Anything that was missing from the packet got sent out today to you. But I am here to answer any questions. There are some departments that are here that could answer questions, you know, for theirs.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barrett. Any questions from members of the board for Ms. Barrett? Or anyone else? Mr. Quintal?
Has there been any conversation with the schools about transportation? I know they were doing a study, right, Kevin?
Yes.
Versus doing it at the town versus,
Yes.
has that been finalized? Does anyone know? Or-
They're continuing to look into that issue, but no, it has not been finalized
So it
yet.
hasn't been addressed?
Yeah.
Okay. The second question is always my favorite one. And do you know how much free cash we're gonna have?
So
An estimation?
we're working on that.
You're working on that?
Yeah.
All right. Because I would like to see some of that, if it's, we'll say, healthy, set aside for whatever we do at Memorial Hall. I think we get a little time. I
We
mean,
did,
you're the finance
yeah.
director for sure, but
We did talk about that when
Yeah.
we were
Yeah,
thinking
and,
about the project, yeah.
I guess what I'm gonna say is, if we have, say, 20 million, I don't think we need to spend 20 million. So I guess I can't be any clearer than that. So, you know, let's see what we can do, what we can put aside. And I know we have a good finance man here. But, you know, I'm a firm believer that, you know, we have a lot of free cash sometime. And if we do that, we shouldn't just say, okay, we got 20 million, let's send it out. And, you know, departments that really need it, I get it. But I think we need to, we know we have a school issue coming. We know we have Memorial Hall that regardless of what we're gonna end up doing, it's gonna cost some money. And it shouldn't always be on the taxpayer unless we, you know what I'm saying, any extra on the taxpayer.
And we will look at that. As part of our
Okay, that's all
policy,
I'm-
we set aside a certain percentage in our stabilization fund, and we usually
Right.
set aside an amount in our facility maintenance stabilization fund. So we will definitely look at that, and we always, as part of the policy, we don't spend the whole thing. We reserve at least 10% of it to flow into the following year but we definitely hear your concerns,
That's
and
all.
those are some of the things that we are looking at.
And just so I don't forget this building, it needs some love, we need some paint on the cupola, and the roof, the tiles are moving. So just keep in mind that we have maintenance for our building here, that's all that I ask. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Quintel. Any other questions for Ms. Barrett from any members of the board? Okay, hearing and seeing none, wish of the board in regards to Article 1, I would be, if someone were inclined to make a motion, I would be requesting that we make a motion to include Article 1 on the warrant and recommend that town meeting approve it. But that would, of course, be if and only if I were to receive a motion.
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
all right. Mr. Golden has moved, and Mr. Quintel has seconded that we include Article 1 on the fall annual town meeting warrant and recommend that town meeting approve it. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Barrett. That brings us into the next item on our agenda, that being Fall Annual Town Meeting Article 9, Acceptance of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21A, Massachusetts Certified Assessor or Certified Assessment Evaluator. And we are joined once again by Ms. Barrett.
Yes, so similar to what we did last spring, we adopted Mass General Law local option for treasurer-collector certifications. There's also a similar one for certified assessor and assistant assessor. So this Mass General Law would be a local option that we would adopt locally, and it provides an additional $1,000 a year compensation for the certification and for them to continue to keep the certification. And we believe that it's a nice recruitment and retention tool to have for staff. So I strongly recommend that we adopt it.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Barrett in relation to Fall Annual Town Meeting Article 9? Okay. Well, is there a motion from a board member to include Article 9 on the Fall Annual Town Meeting warrant and recommend that town meeting approve it?
So moved.
Has been moved by Mr. Golden. Is there a second?
Second.
Has been seconded by Mr. Quintel. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. Thank you once again, Ms.
Thank
Barrett.
you.
That brings us into Fall Annual Town Meeting, Article 6.
We're being joined at the podium by Mr. Kevin Canty, Chair of the Select Board. Mr. Canty, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Golden. So, Fall Annual Town Meeting, Article 6 seeks to establish a land acquisition special revenue account for Chapter 61, 61A, and 61B, rollback taxes. Jade, it's happened again, sadly. Oh, apparently it was turned off, so it was in cooking with gas. All right, good. Thank you. So, Chapter 61, rollback taxes. You might be asking yourself, well, what is Chapter 61? And what are the rollback taxes? Chapter 61 is it's a statute within, or three statutes within, Massachusetts general laws. Chapter 61 deals with land and forestry status. 61A deals with land and agricultural status. And Chapter 61B deals with land in recreation status. So if you are a landowner with land that is going to be used for one of those designated purposes, you can get reduced taxes by enrolling the land in Chapter 61 status. That comes with certain costs as well as benefits. The benefit would be reduced taxes while it's in what is referred to as chapter status. But what it comes with the cost of, it involves a right of first refusal in the
Excuse me,
event.
Mr. Canty, do you need more time?
There's not a time limit on presenters, but I appreciate that, Mr. Quindle. So, Chapter 61, it gives you a benefit to your tax rate while it's in there, but it triggers a right of first refusal if you were to have it removed from that. And it also, if you do remove it, there's a conversion of up to 5 years of back taxes, depending on when you convert the use or transfer the use after the removal. The rollback taxes that are assessed are the total difference between what was paid while in chapter status and what would have been paid if the land was taxed normally, plus, at least generally, 5% interest per year. That doesn't apply to, I think it's 61 land that was put in that before 2006 or thereabouts. But for the most part, it's 5% interest per year. So that's what the rollback taxes are. They are triggered when someone converts or removes the land for another use out of chapter status for general use. So the town, since 2009, has brought in approximately, well, not approximately, but I guess approximately in terms of the 2026 number, $1,503,837.30 in rollback taxes over the last 18 years. As you can see, it fluctuates wildly. In fiscal year 2019, we brought in only $357.80. But back in fiscal year 2014, we brought in $376,325.27. The average over the 18 years is approximately $83,500, but obviously it wildly varies. Because the money varies, and because we never know when someone is going to remove something from Chapter 61 and trigger rollback taxes, or what those taxes would be, the taxes that are coming to the town are not accounted for in the budget. They're basically found money that flows into the general fund but is not appropriated to a specific purpose and then goes into free cash at the end of the year because it was not put into a specific purpose. So, over the last 18 years, if this fund doesn't apply to 2026, the town will have brought in at least $1.5 million that has basically fallen into the couch cushions and then gone into free cash. Free cash is usually used for capital expenses, projects, and other items of that nature, but it's not money that we were accounting for or planning for in the budgetary process. Right now, as I said, it goes to the general fund, then flows to free cash. Article 6 seeks to create a fund to capture those funds and preserve them for future open space, recreation, or municipal use needs. So right now, the Land Use Acquisition Committee reviews land that is in 61 status when it comes up to assess whether the town should assert its right of first refusal or not. And part of that assessment is, does this parcel that's coming out of 61 and that the town has a right of first refusal on have a beneficial open space purpose? Does it have a beneficial recreation purpose? Or would it be useful for municipal use or housing or some other use of that nature? So these three, open space, recreation, and municipal use, we know that Chapter 61 generally is about different forms of open space. To an extent, it is also related to recreation in relation to particularly like forestry with nature trails, biking, stuff like that through those, hiking. And we know as the community continues to grow that we are going to have continued municipal use needs, more fire stations, potentially another police station or annex at some point, or a unified public safety complex that was talked about relatively recently as well. We will need additional municipal uses for schools over time and other purposes. So this fund, if it were to be created And if this fund existed back in fiscal year 2009, we would have acquired $1.5 million into that fund, which over an 18-year period is not a lot of money. However, it could serve as a decent down payment for a larger parcel that comes out of 61 that we might want to act on, or it could entirely pay for some smaller parcels as they come about. Essentially, this money is not money that we're counting on. It's money that, as land is coming out of 61, we are just flowing into free cash and using for other purposes. So this article seeks to designate the purposes that we use it for. I do think that as the town reaches build-out, more land that's currently in 61 will be incentivized to come out of 61 or 61A or 61B. And if we don't have a fund like this, it's just going to flow into the general fund, and we're not going to capture that money and be able to use it for something specific. I think that that development is going to particularly happen in places like South Plymouth, as we saw with the attempted sale of Atlantic Country Club. So that was a final number was like a $19 million purchase. Obviously, 1.5 million, if it existed at that time, would not totally pay for that, but it's a decent down payment on a $19 million expense. So that is what Article 6 seeks to do, is to create a fund to capture this money that is otherwise essentially going into the couch cushions and designate it for future open space, recreation, or municipal use needs of the town as they arise. Questions?
Mr. Quintel?
Kevin or Lynn, the 5% when it comes out of 61, can we set that rate higher, or is that a set rate like by the government, we can't change it, or is there an avenue for that?
I believe it's Mass General Law dictates the
okay.
percentage, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for one of the designated purposes, if the land has been in it for long enough, the 5% interest doesn't apply either. But
Okay.
for most purposes, it does. To be honest, the individual taxes paid on any single parcel is very small. That's why you could have something
Right.
like fiscal year 2019, didn't even make $400 that year on it. So it really depends on, some of these parcels are the size of postage stamps, and some of them are 176 acres. So.
I like the idea. The only part I think that I'm not crazy about is several options you can use it for.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's coming out of preservation, I think it needs to go back in the land preservation. So, you know, like you used a good example that I support.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, you know, it's all about preservation, how they're
Yes.
taking it out of preservation, and the little fee, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
for pulling it out. What is it, the last 5 years or something?
The last 5 years, up
Yeah.
to 5 years, depending on
So
how it's coming
I
out.
would, rather than have options, I mean, it's just my opinion, I'd rather see it go towards land preservation.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
I do want to point out that 61A is actually agriculture, so it's the opposite of land preservation. It's farming, or, you know, horticulture, or agriculture. And 61B is actually, it's not just for passive recreation, it's active recreation too, so like golf courses. So there is some development that's part of the three Chapter 61 designations. So 61 proper is largely about forest management. So you have to develop a forest management plan that includes some cutting and regrowing. So it's not purely an open space endeavor.
Yes.
Si Quinto?
So we have the land bank proposal that's kind
Yes.
of winding its way through the legislative process.
Right.
Who knows if it's going to be approved or not? Okay.
TBD.
In a fantasy world, if that was approved, how would this compare to the land bank?
That's a great question. It would be very different from it. So first of all, the land bank proposal, if that were to be approved, that still has to be approved by the legislature and still has to go to a town-wide vote. So there's several meaningful, significant hurdles for it to overcome. And then that is tied to the transactions of real estate throughout the community with a number of exemptions and reductions. And that is overseen by a land bank commission that is appointed by several bodies in the government, but is not directly controlled, cannot be directly controlled by any individual or collection of groups within town government by design. This fund, to take money out of this fund would require town meeting action. It's not going to bring in the kind of money that the land bank would, even if all the exemptions were at their maximum amount, because as you can see, at an average over an 18-year period of $83,564, I think, dollars, it's not bringing in a lot of cash, but it is bringing in some, and it's cash that is otherwise just sort of coming out in the wash. And we're targeting it towards known needs, so open space, recreation, municipal use, that are tied to why this land is likely to come out of. So it has a similarity in regards to that aspect to some extent with the land bank, which is also tied to the growth of the community as transactions occur. But personally, as we've seen with 61 conversions, whether it be 61, 61A or B, it's incentivized by the scarcity of real estate in the community going up. So as more of the real estate is built, there will be more of an incentive for some of these uses to take out of their given 61 and sell to a developer, like what they wanted to do down at Atlantic Country Club. And there are a lot of these parcels, great and small, throughout the community, where that incentive to do that is going to increase as we approach the next 15 to 20 years as we're reaching likely build out. And as you can see here, you know, that would be, if it had been back 18 years, that's what we would have brought in. Maybe it'll be about the same as this, maybe it'll be greater than that, but it'll allow us to not just lose the money, but be able to capture that money and target it for those use as we need it. And a town meeting could decide they only want to take money out, to Mr. Quintel's point, for open space or for recreation. But there may be a unique circumstance where they want to use it to buy land for a fire station. So this gives them the option to do that. They're not required to do that, and it requires a majority of 162 members to agree on it. So just another tool in the toolbox. It would complement the activities of a land bank commission. It would complement the activities of the Community Preservation Act. It would complement the activities of the Open Space Committee. It would help inform the activities of the Land Use and Acquisition Committee. And it would help the town to further control, because we are always hearing from residents that they want more ways to potentially control development, sprawl, growth in the community. So it's just another tool in that particular toolbox. But all of those tools can coexist. They can team up on projects, or they can work independently on projects.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Just a quick, thank you for that explanation. That was excellent.
You're welcome.
Just a quick follow-up question, make sure that I heard this correctly. So if there was a piece of property that we were interested in and we had this chunk of money to put on it, to put towards it, would that go to town meeting to decide on the purchase?
Yes.
So town meeting would be involved in?
Yes, so if you want to purchase property, you'd need a town meeting, because you'd need enough money to buy it. And town meeting controls the purse strings. So, yeah, generally when something with a conversion or other transition out of 61 that triggers a right of first refusal, you're pretty much always looking at having a town meeting, unless it happens to line up with your town meeting calendar. But it's usually a special town meeting to do that. But because this fund would also be tied to town meeting action, if there was already money in the fund from other 61 lands that hadn't been acted on, you'd also have at least some money towards a potential purchase in the event that it was desirable to purchase something coming out of one of the various 61 chapters. You're welcome.
Mr. Cohen?
So this is just following up on what Dickie's indicating. I'd like to see a higher level of preservation on behalf of the town. This is moving in that direction. Yes, it's complementing different efforts, but it does have language here on section 1 where it references other municipal usages.
Correct.
So that's where, I'd like to see it dedicated to land protection, open space protection, recreational protection, those levels of protection specifically. I guess, hearing my other board members, how they feel about that in the presenter, I heard your argument for why this would be a fund for those activities. But I think, we're at a crisis level when it comes to the level of sprawl and growth the town is being
Correct.
impacted by.
Yes.
And I think we need to, the Community Preservation Act has been, the cornerstone to land preservation for 24 years.
Yes.
So obviously, any way we can complement that. But in this scenario, there's a municipal purpose there, so that could probably be used for any purpose. And it would be nice to see that this was dedicated to the preservation end of the equation.
It'd be used for land, it wouldn't be used for, like, buying toilet paper
No.
for town buildings, but it would be used for, as the town grows, one of the concerns we have, like, we received, or the board received, this prior to my election of the board, but there was a presentation, Mr. Quintal will likely remember, by the consultant for the fire department about the need for further fire stations as the community continues to grow. And we're gonna need land for that. Obviously, even if all the money from 2009 was still in that account, we can't build a fire station for $1.5 million. All you could do is contribute to that particular use. But you'd be using it for land acquisition for open space or recreation or municipal use as the town continues to grow. And I don't disagree with you that open space and recreation are certainly priorities for that stuff, but there could be a situation where it would be nice to have the ability to use this to buy land for a fire station, for example.
And the reason we need a fire station is because the town is growing, because the way we're using the land. So I'm trying to get ahead of the fire station equation. Obviously, we're heading in that direction, but
Right.
Just a larger commitment of the community to control the level of sprawl. It's affecting our cost of services. Even though this is a small amount of money,
Yep.
I was just thinking in those terms.
Yes, well, I would encourage you to support the eventual land bank ballot proposal in order to do that. That will tie the ability of the town to control that sprawl as growth continues. There will be more on that. This sadly will not incentivize or disincentivize anyone from taking money out of 61, because what do they care where their back taxes go?
Right.
But it will allow us to leverage the money that is coming out as the town grows for these specific dedicated purposes, as we and town meeting deems appropriate in the future.
Just to follow up, as Deb has indicated and you explained, these funds require us to go back to town meeting because they're free cash, and they require an active town meeting because they control the purse strings on a matter like this. But you reference and continue to rest the land bank, and that wouldn't be the case in the land bank. The land bank is...
Yes, the land bank does not tie to the town meeting cycle so that it can react to the developers that are not tied to that.
Yes.
And protect the interest of the community more
I
broadly.
understand the town meeting cycle, but there's 163 people that publicly... 62 that make a public decision on, what to do with the monies that we have in terms of what direction we go in. So obviously, that wouldn't be part of the land bank equation. In this equation, it does need town meeting approval because it is...
It does.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you like the town meeting approval component, this serves that. If you like the ability to control sprawl, the land bank serves that. Different things for different folks with different interests. But in relation to Article 6, yes, this does tie the conversion of land from 61 to these purposes and would require town meeting approval. It doesn't flow to free cash, it avoids free cash because it would go to this, it would not even go to the general fund even briefly. It would just park in this fund and wait for town meeting to take it out.
Yeah, I think I'd like to point out too that this money only comes in when parcels are sold for conversion. And so typically that's happening for development purposes. So having that option for the municipal use. So for example, say if the Atlantic Country Club had been sold and we got $150,000, let's say, in back taxes, that money could then be used to offset the cost for the building of a fire station closer to that development in order to create a safer environment for community members down there. So that's why I think that it's important. I think we should divorce this from conversation about the land bank because they are unrelated. And I think we should marry the cause and effect of chapter land coming out and being developed to a fund that helps us to offset the expenses that comes with that development. Go Mr. Cohen and then Mr. Quintel.
That's a very good point, and now I can embrace that concept within section 1. So thank you for that, and I only referenced it because the other matter was brought up, and I felt like, no, yeah, very good.
Mr. Quintel.
A couple things. Do you think it's worth sending a letter to the state and asking them to revisit this Mass General Law and change it? I mean, 5% is ridiculous. You get to not pay your taxes on a piece of land, and then you can, you know, unless it can't be done, I don't know. And then the second thing was, we referenced agriculture, but you need to look at the Barango property up on 44, or what do you call it, Sampson Street, or whatever you, yeah.
Or Carver Road, depending on where you are.
44, okay. You know, and you know, I don't know, maybe it's my glasses, but that thing does not look right there. It's awful. It's not the place for it, and it took a beautiful view shed, if you will. And, you know, I don't know if it's part of that farm or was, but it's ruined regardless. If it was the nursery next door or whoever owns it, I don't know. So I think 5% is it's almost as bad as the 40B law, the more I sit and listen to it. I mean, it does nothing for the municipality. These properties are being developed, the developers are stuffing their pockets, and off they go. And then we all get stuck with, not stuck with, but we get blamed, let's use that word, for why we need another fire station, or why we need to fix roads, or why we need to have a sewer treatment plant over here or there, services, and people don't understand.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't understand what the rationale is for the 5%. You take very wealthy families that have a lot of property in Chiltonville, and they're gonna sell it off, okay? It's gonna come out of 61, whatever you wanna call it. And, you know, that was it's just a backwards law. I mean, if it's really for somebody that's doing agriculture, you know, they're farming, they're haying, or whatever they're doing, I get it. But just to put it in agriculture and plant a row of corn, or whatever you're planting, so you don't have to pay the same tax rate as we all pay. You know, I mean, it's backwards. But if you're gonna comment on that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mr. Canty. So there are certainly defects in Chapter 61, and the Massachusetts chapter of the International Association of Assessing Officers is actually advocating for that change.
Well.
But there are also, one of the glaring issues with 61 is that there's only a 5-year look back. And
Yes.
so you may have had your 500-acre property in 61A because you were actively farming it for generations. You may have had it in for decades. But no matter how long you've had it in 61A, you've benefited from a tax reduction, but we can only recover 5 years back. So those two items are major.
Who checks it? How many of these 61s, whatever, A, B, Cs, Ds? Who actually checks to say, oh, you're farming yours, oh, yours is, you know, who? I'm very curious to see as these properties come out,
Yeah.
now that this has got a little light on it, because I'll be the first one to bring it up under new business.
Yeah, so there are reporting requirements that they need to do for the assessor's office, so they have to provide receipts indicating that they've sold product. I think it's, for the first 10 acres, they have to have done $500 worth of sales, and then for every acre thereafter, it's $5. So if you have a 500-acre property, you have to just spend $500 for the first 10, and then you have to have taken in $25,000 worth of sales, basically.
And that's agriculture?
Agriculture, yeah.
Well, what about like forestry or?
So the state manages the forest management plans. Typically, 61 properties are also, they're also like pseudo 61A, so they're selling the wood product. And then 61B, you generally, it's left in an open state, so it's, there is no,
I have to ask the
there's no
question.
reporting,
All right,
except
so
for
if I
like
have
a
something
golf
in
course.
forestry, I'm gonna get a tax discount, but I can level it as far as the trees go.
No.
You
No.
just said sell the trees.
Well, there's a, it's
Well, you know
a,
what I mean.
it's a forest
What-
management plan, so they work with a state forester who is charged with ensuring that they follow their plan. So they'll cut certain sections of their forest to promote proper growth and avoid situations like we see in California with like the undergrowth that causes forest fires. Yeah. But to answer your question about, is it worth us sending a letter to our state delegation? I absolutely think it's worth us sending a
And to
letter.
the assessors or whoever, I
Yep.
mean, I don't know, but I think, you know, it always takes somebody to get the ball rolling, because I'm sure other communities in the same boat we're
Sure.
in.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Yeah, the letter should include not only the 5%, but the 5-year look back if we do send a letter.
Right.
Yes. Yes, and I am anticipating, the reason I wanted to put this article forward is I think Plymouth is going to see an increased rate of removals of 61
Right.
as the town continues to develop. So now is the time, we would have captured this money if we already had it. Imagine if it does uptick, what we could capture if that comes to pass.
Are there any further questions on Article 6? Hearing and seeing none, I will make a motion to include Article 6 on the fall 2025 town meeting warrant and recommend town meeting approval. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds, and I will turn things back over to our chair.
All right. Any discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yeah, I obviously think this is an important article. It might seem like small potatoes, and it might seem like a minor action on our part, but I think it sets us up for controlling our own destiny as the town does continue to grow. I've worked for a contract assessing firm for 4 years before moving to my current role. In that role, I also served as the chapter land specialist for the organization, and we saw across our 35 communities an explosion in Chapter 61, 61A, and 61B sales. The reason is that many towns across Massachusetts are experiencing a crunch in where large-scale developments can go. And we have thousands of acres of chapter land here in Plymouth. So we want to get ahead of this issue. We want to have every tool available to us to make sure that we can afford the pressures that come along with development. This is not going to stop development, but it's going to put us in a better position to manage it as it comes. And I'll channel my former colleague, Mr. Mahoney, who would say, this is removing these funds from the black hole that is the general fund and putting it for a specific purpose. It's being planful. So I'm going to vote yes.
Thank you, Mr. Golden. Any other discussion? Yes, Mr. Quintal?
I would just like to thank you, Mr. Golden, for answering my questions. I mean, I'm just trying to make sense of what we're proposing, not what we're proposing, but the meats and potatoes of it all.
Yes,
And I'm sure it's beneficial to those watching that
yes. 61 is very complicated.
it can be.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Anytime.
Well, it's not so much it's complicated as much as it is, I don't think it's doing the community a favor.
No.
That's really my
Right.
issue.
I think at the time that it was passed, there was a desire to see more lands enter into those uses. So there was less of a stick, so that it was more an incentive to
They
put it
weren't
in.
really thinking about when people were gonna
Right,
take
but
it out.
now those chickens are coming back to
That's
roost.
it, they are.
Yes, and agricultural use or not, we would like more for the exchange. Yes, Mr. Cohen?
Again, thank you, David, for explaining the municipal purposes as they relate to why something's in chapter, when something comes out, and what pressure is going to be put on the town. So I understand that rationale, and I can support it. I like all components of it. But I do look back and see that the town of Plymouth has a land use and acquisition committee, and they're, working with the assessor's office and different various departments as these possibilities come before us. Hopefully, there's a chance we can acquire the property, but if not, we're in a situation where the rollback is coming in and it's being dedicated in a direction that is a direct correlation to what Chapter 61 is and how it relates to the town. But I can take you back to a point in time where the town of Plymouth actually dissolved their Land Use and Acquisitions Committee, and a number of us took a number of years to get it back into the charter so that we would have a Land Use Acquisition Committee to look at these Chapter 61s, because as David noted and Mr. Quintal is noting, it's a quite complicated statute, and the more people who understand it, the better off we are and prepared to respond to opportunities that come to us under 61. So I applaud the initiative, and I look back over the last 20 years and the missed opportunities, but the salvaged opportunities with a reinvigorated Land Use and Acquisition Committee with a purpose, and now an article going to town meeting to set up a fund. So I'll be in support of this article.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Any other discussion? All right. If there is none, Mr. Golden,
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Quintal,
Yes.
and myself, yes, it is unanimous. Thank you. That brings us into the next item on our agenda, that being public comment. Do we have any members of the public currently in physical attendance? Mr. Lyden, who would like to give public comment?
Steve Lyden, I'd like to thank the town manager and his staff to finally get spurts out of the highlights. And we do have a black hole, and I don't mean the general fund. I mean the black hole in North Plymouth. I think it used to be Gus's DiBernardo's development. It's just a big hole in North Plymouth. It's an eyesore. And so I'd like to know if we could do something about that. The other thing I'd like to bring up, I'd like to see if we can get an agenda on this committee of what happened between the delegation that went to Japan and the kids. I think we need, with the public interest we had before they left, to be coming back next year in '26. So I think it'd be great if we could have these people come in, the delegation, the kids, and so they could explain what their experience was, how great it was. And I think we need to, so that the public could be more informed, since they had a lot of questions before they left. So I think it'd be a good idea if we could have like an agenda item, have this whole delegation come in, explain our sister city collaboration that we have between the two of us. I mean, I support it. I think it's great, but that's just me. And I've talked to a few of the people who went, and they were just blown away about how fantastic it was. And I think those experiences, telling it to the public, I think we would get more support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lyden. Other members of the public in physical attendance? Yes. Please identify yourself.
Kate Sakarik, 26 Bradford Street. Happy birthday, Jade. A couple of things from a point of view of a taxpayer. Some things that bothered me while I was on vacation this year. There were two major oversights in my mind so far this year. One being with the school system and our food services director. You know, how that went on for 20 years, I don't know. Second thing being Memorial Hall. And as a taxpayer, you know, I've got the school committee asking me for more money this fall. And Memorial Hall keeps coming up as a gimme. And I'm wondering, as a taxpayer, if it is possible, and Barrett's not here anymore, but if it's possible to trace the money, the $86,031 from the 2016 town meeting that was awarded to Memorial Hall for repairs. And I know that the folks who are running it weren't here then, but I really take issue with this being let go for so long, and no one was on top of this. Where's the oversight? Who's responsible for this? If I were in a job for 4 years and I let my client's house get water damage, I wouldn't have a job. Nobody else would hire me, number one. And then the school cafeteria services thing, there was some serious secondary embarrassment. Again, school committee's gonna come back and ask for money. I kind of want answers about how 20 years goes by and you've got somebody stealing from the town, from the kids, yeah, that's an issue I have. Second thing I'd like to bring up is the issue of Proof 22. I was at the select board meeting when one of the owners of that group came forward, and most of you weren't here, but a couple, Mr. Quintel, you were. And I remember there were just a few questions that they asked one of the owners about, well, what is this establishment going to be? And the answer was a little bit confusing. It was, well, it's going to be a family place, it's going to be, we're going to have live music, you know, what does Proof 22 mean? I remember the answer was really nebulous.
You have exceeded your 3 minutes. Would you like an additional minute to conclude your remarks, or would you like to request further time beyond that, which would require an affirmative vote of the board?
Just a minute.
Okay, you may go ahead.
And so, you know, when these things happen in town, you know, it's embarrassing to myself. It's upsetting. And I feel like remembering that question and answer, that short exchange, I wish now, looking back, that the board had pressed more about what's this going to be? Because it's not a family place, you know. I've never seen anybody, you know, who's 12 or 15, you know, go in with their parents. It's always been a problem. Other places that they own have been a problem. And I think there needs to be more, there just needs to be more oversight, more questions when people come before the board to ask for liquor licenses and what are you going to do with your business? Because it's embarrassing. This was a summer of embarrassment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public in physical attendance wish to give public comment? Yes, Mr. Malaguti.
Evan Malaguti, Precinct 2. So I have two comments. So the first is that I was wondering if the town would look at the report that the Revenue Idea Task Force did many years ago in a two-part series with recommendations on either revenue enhancement or revenue generation, two of them that are ones that could be looked at for possibility, especially with things going on, is the tax of spent nuclear fuel, and also the pilot, silent, and guilet program, especially with the expansion of other properties with Beth Israel and other large-scale nonprofits that are in town, as well as the ongoing, not just the 1,600 acres, but other things with decommissioning, and also possibility of a SMR in the future as well too, possibly on the site, that these two should be looked at as either negotiating tools or other avenues. The second that I have is back, I believe it was either late spring or early summer, we had representatives here from Eversource for gas, but was also talked about possibly later a future for electricity. As we've seen, not just from the winter, but we also just saw very recently another uptick in the electricity charges that I believe we need to have discussion, not just with our legislators, but also with the Eversource representatives again, to figure out what we should actually do, because while some on the board won't lay blame, I will lay blame with the current administration for largely hammering through regulations and taxation on residents that don't have the actual finite details and and forecast modeling for finances for what's actually going to cost in the future, even though that third parties have. And I believe that we owe it to our residents to make sure that we can have, one, stabilization, but also sustainability of rates so that we can actually afford to live here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malaguti. Any other residents in physical attendance wish to give public comment? Hearing and seeing none. Jade, it looks like we might have a digital hand raised online. All right, if that individual can, Mr. Keith, if you could unmute yourself, you have the floor.
Good evening, everybody. Stevie Keith, Precinct 9. I just wanted to give my 10 cents about the goals for the town. I think the elephant in the room really is AI, especially when we're talking about creating an efficient town government. I know something I'd like to see, and a lot of the people I talk to, is a plan on how we can implement this to basically make our town run more smooth. And if we're not planning for it now, we're already behind. 2, the GIS thing, I actually just took coursework in it. ArcGIS is super complex. I would highly recommend just hiring out for it. It is a beast, but nothing that can't be tamed with a little bit of help from a pro. I can definitely connect you guys with UMass Boston. They have an awesome program there. I'm willing to bet they do some of the work for free because it's a heavy lift. And then lastly, strengthen the town's workforce, explore the feasibility of a 4-day work week. I'm just gonna let you know it's already hard enough for us to get inspections on Fridays for our construction jobs because basically they can't travel half the town just due to the nature of the 96 square miles. But yeah, that's basically it. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. Any other members of the public in virtual attendance wish to give public comment? All right. That brings us into the next item on our agenda, that being the town manager's report. Mr. Brindisi.
Okay, so I have a few updates this evening. I'll start over on the waterfront. So as I reported in the past, the boardwalk project over by the town boat ramp stalled this past late winter, early spring. We are now restarting that project, so you'll see some action over the last couple of weeks. Today, they will be pouring the concrete for the concrete walkways. Next week, we expect them to install the railing, so that project will be complete hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We apologize that it took so long to get this project completed. Certainly should have been completed prior to the tourist season, but here we are. So looking forward to the end of that project. In addition, we are planning to add sidewalks down on the town wharfway in front of Shanty Rose, in front of Cabby, to connect that area. So those folks that try to navigate Town Wharfway, it can be a challenge because there are no sidewalks on the left side of the road other than over by the Tavern on the Wharf. So we're planning, we have a design in place. We're hoping that we can start construction by mid-September sometime. So that will really provide some safe pedestrian walking space down on the waterfront once that project is complete. I want to just let folks know that there is a recovery event taking place this Saturday at the library. It's called We Remember, We Recover. It'll take place again at the library on South Street. It'll be from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. We'll have live music, we'll have food. We have a number of speakers who'll be presenting this coming Saturday, and then we'll have a number of tables. So our fire department will be there with a table. A number of our community partners at the Health and Human Services Department has forged over the last 3 years, such as BAMSI and High Point will all have tables there as well. So again, We Remember, We Recover this coming Saturday from 12 to 4 p.m. Moving down to Halfway Pond and Long Pond Road, so that project continues to move forward. So far, things have been going well. The widening of the road is nearly complete. Right now, that project, they're just gonna work in the shoulder areas. We know the buses for schools will begin tomorrow, so we expect to keep 2 lanes open at all times during the commuting hours, and then go to interchanging lanes once the commuting time is over. So Hopefully that project will be complete as far as the paving in the next few weeks. We're still waiting for the signals to come in so we can complete that project, so more to come on that. And then I mentioned earlier that we had a construction meeting this morning with the contractor that's been hired to tear down Burt's. So next week, you'll see some, I would say by the end of next week, you'll see some movement over there. First, they have to remove the propane tanks that are in the ground. Once that's complete, and then they'll move to the demolition of the building. So we're hoping by mid-September, that building will be torn down, then they'll backfill the hole with gravel. And then we'll find out what future development looks like on that property. And then the last thing I want to bring to the board's attention, Kate McKay, Town Council, received a notice today by the attorney representing the seller of the Atlantic Country Club. In this email, the attorney stated that the buyer, the proposed buyer of the Atlantic Country Club, has terminated the purchase and sale agreement. So at this time, we are being informed that there will be no sale of the Atlantic Country Club. As the board had directed in the past, they had asked administration to pursue an appraisal of the property, so we'll continue to pursue the appraisal of that property, so that if this property were to become available, we can have an informed discussion as to the real cost of that property. So pending any questions, that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Brindisi. Any questions for board members? Mr. Brindisi. All right. If there are none, I think the buyer backing out of Atlantic Country Club is very good news for the community as a large, as well as for certainly Southwest Plymouth. I know that there were a lot of folks down in South Plymouth, Southwest Plymouth, who were very concerned about that purchase. So that's good news. All right. So if there are no other questions from board members for Mr. Brindisi, we'll move into select board discussion. First item being new business. Any board members have new business? Hearing, Mr. Cohen?
On Taylor Ave, the 54 Taylor Ave, it's a property the town acquired with CPA funds back in 2010, I believe. And there was different efforts to do different things on the site, but currently the site is being used as in a manner which is kind of a distraction to the abutting properties in the neighborhood itself. There's a lot of equipment stored there. Obviously, we no longer are servicing White Horse Beach with lifeguards. There's lifeguard stands that are there. So I would hope that at some point someone take a look at that site and see what we can do to address the debris that's, not debris, but the storaging that's happening there. Because there is an abutter next door. I've heard from people in the neighborhood, and they're concerned, and the abutter's concerned with maybe addressing some fencing or some buffering, green buffering between her property directly abutting 54 Taylor Ave. So I just wanted to bring it to the town's attention that some of the residents have brought it to my attention. I'm familiar with the site, and I hope we can organize the site in a manner which is a little bit more pleasing when you drive by it, and maybe buffering to the neighbor to the immediate south. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Any other new business? Oh, Mr. Quintal.
I have a few things, Mr. Canty. One is, I don't know if the whole board knows or who knows, but Lee Filson will be retiring soon. I want to use that term, but the reason I bring it up is I think we need to take a good hard look at how we promote the town, and now would be a time to dive into that, as it, even refers to the VSB, and I'm not speaking for the VSB, the chairman's right there. But how we promote the town, how we go moving forward, what are we looking for? If we're all happy with the way things are, then I guess we won't have to, have any say, but it's a lot of money. It's a large contract. It's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's not just our area, but I think with the amount of money we put into that, and, you know, I think it'd be very interesting to have a good conversation, if you will, whoever it is, whether it's you and David, or you and Deb, or Deb and I, or, but I think all of us should have a say and a good look before we move forward, or extend or change any contract going forward. Now would be the time. To couple that, Mr. Hartman will be leaving in December. He's a big piece of the VSB in Plymouth. So there's a lot of moving parts there that I want to bring to our attention. I think it's, and as you know, I sit there as, well, actually, I'm not your liaison to the VSB, but I do sit there. And I think it's going to warrant some overlooking. The second thing, last week, I think it was last week, but I can't remember last week. We didn't have old business or whatever,
Yes,
but
right.
we had a very colorful, I believe he called everybody, and he was looking for Bill, so I helped him out. Bill, I gave him your number. Because I wanted everybody to be able to, you know, I wanted the resident, he called 4 of us, he said, and he was extremely upset about noise, traffic, and traffic. Oh, yeah,
Electronic bicycles.
yes, that,
Police
too, which I tried
officers
to explain that
parked in certain areas.
Deb brought up.
Fire
and-
trucks as well.
Right,
he
we
was
were working
concerned
on it,
about,
right,
yeah.
so,
Yes, it was a,
I mean, sometimes you can try to help the resident, and sometimes, you know. So
Yes.
we had an interesting exchange, but
Hmm.
I, you know, want to bring it up that, I didn't bring it up last week because I told him I was going to. And when I called him back, he didn't answer. I left him a message, so I still have his number on my desk, but I was responding, and that's why we couldn't last week.
okay.
So, that being said, the last one, I know Derek's gonna probably cringe a little, but I get a lot of phone calls on chip seal, and I wouldn't bring it up, but I have to bring it up, and, you know, it's nothing to do with the DPW director or any of the workforce. I was told that, you know, and even Silvio, who's served in DPW before, that, you know, it extends the road, the life of the road 10 years. But I mean, first it was, I think it was Tall Pines was the road, or Small Pine, or some pines. And I went out there, and I know you've been out there, and others probably have, and I met with the neighbors there. So I come back, I did all the meetings, we had a discussion with, you know, Derek and Silvio, and I believe Bill. And I understand it's contracted, and I understand the concept of it. But they did another road, then they just did Rocky Hill Road. I mean, and I only know this because different people are calling me. First you say, well, you know, you just deal with this one. And there's 2, there's 3. So, in all my years here, I have to say, I never heard so much about chip sealing. And I understand the whole why we do it. But we have to ask ourselves, it's the taxpayers' money. If they're not happy with this, and I get it, it's cheaper and it gives us 10 more years, then why are we doing it? We sit here for them. We represent them. So even though the logic might be we get 10 more years out of it, if the taxpayers aren't happy, then we shouldn't be doing it. And that's why people get frustrated, and I don't mean at us, but just in general. That's why they don't believe in their government, and, you know, no, I'm not up for election, but I'm just saying. I wouldn't really put much into it, except the calls are even coming from Chiltonville. And it's the same things I'm hearing, is, you know, I have this car that, it's not an antique, but, you know, a lot of people have those hot rods, or whatever you want to call them, car show cars. And they're afraid to take it out. I'll tell you where you're gonna hear it, where we're gonna hear it, is when you go to Manomet on the Manomet Elementary School on the 16th. They're gonna come out because they've done chip sealing in there. I've met with the residents of, I can't think of the road because it's not in front of me, but I have it on my desk. I'm like, there's 3 roads there that they're doing. And they say, Dick, they're putting this stuff down. I says, yeah, it's probably chip seal. Oh, I don't think it's chip seal. It looks pretty nice. Well, that's good then. Everybody's happy. He called me 3 days later. He goes, I don't know what they did, but this stuff's all over my driveway. I said, look, it's good, because I know. It's gonna do it for 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, but after you use it a while, so I guess, and I'm no DPW guy, I sell bananas. But, that being said, you know, I think it's all right on heavy, you know, roads that are heavily used, but I don't think it's all right for, you know, neighborhoods. And I could be wrong, but I don't know, you just wanna keep ignoring this, or how many more people are gonna, I'm not asking you, I'm asking the board. I mean, do you wanna just put it, does anybody else get the calls, or, okay, so.
Yes.
All right, I feel better. I tell them all, call the others. I mean, I'm glad you called me, but please, you know, share it. You know, so, I just don't know, you know, and it's not to put the DPW on, but I mean, if the people really are not happy with it, then what are we doing it for? Or maybe we don't do it in rural, residential, R30 zones or whatever. I know David knows the R's, right?
Yes.
So, I don't know, what do you think?
Well, I think that, although I think there's a segment of the population that hates chip seal forever, I do think the calls, in my experience, taper off after that first 14 days, generally, in most instances. Not always, but in most instances, when it's first on and there's a lot of individual rocks being kicked up and separated from the sort of paste of the adhesive and the rock sort of slurry. That can be alarming to folks and disquieting that their road is seemingly semi-gravel. But, and I agree that it doesn't always abate after that period, but it seems to, in many instances, largely abate after that period. And if we wouldn't be able to do the amount of mileage we're able to do without it. So I think like it's an important tool in the toolbox, but maybe, you know, assessing for some of the more, it does appear that the rate of, for lack of a better term, like solidification of it is tied to the traffic volume.
Mm-hmm.
So that for maybe some of your off streets, maybe it's not as good a choice, but in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, certainly, I know that it's an important tool in the DPW toolbox. But, you know, next time we have DPW in, we can always follow up with them about, you know, we're hearing X while you're here, and can we, what are your thoughts and what are your justifications, and is it, you know, because I think that a level of, none of us are DPW professionals, so a level of deference, but also we are those that oversee them, so we don't, you know, there's a balance between listening to them and then also taking policy decisions as well, so.
Yeah, because I almost want to say that, well, on Rocky Hill Road, for example, they were saying that, this is what they were telling me, that the job there is better than, just say, 12 Pines or another street. Because 12 Pines, you know, they're not calling me right now, at least they weren't till tonight.
Mhm.
So they, you know, but I know if I call him, you know who I'm speaking
Yes,
about.
I do.
He'll have, you know, because the last I knew, because I asked him, I said, how'd it go with Kevin? You know, did he fix your street? Because I know him, he grew up with my brother, so I can play with him a little. But that being said, the other people, definitely not.
Mhm.
And, you know, and the last person that called me, I'm not gonna say his name, but a very prudent, well-respected individual. And was a very good conversation. And they did call back and say to me 2 days later, or a day later, that Rocky Hill Road was different than the others. You know, I don't know if it was a different company that did it, but he took note to that. And so I was gonna try to get to Rocky Hill Road, just like I was trying to get to Cedarville and look at some signs down there. But I'm checking them off one at a time, but I don't know. You know, if I get another phone call, you know, from different people, I'm gonna bring it up again. I mean, because it's not one street or one neighborhood now, that's why I'm bringing it up, because it seems to be. I think maybe if we stayed out of the low volume neighborhoods with only 6 houses or whatever it might be, then maybe those are the ones that we, you know, with discussion, I'm not the DPW director naturally, but I know we keep appropriating more money to do roads and fix roads, but I think also we need to do what our residents want us to do. If they're not happy, they're not happy. And we'll see on the 16th when we go to, where are we going, South Elementary School? Manaman Elementary, excuse me. Because that's right in the little heart of where I went, so you might have some visitors there. You might not.
We might not.
We might not, but we might.
We will see.
That's all I really have, I think.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, Ms. Iaquinto, new business.
Yes, just quickly, Mr. Quintal, I just want to address your first comment that you made about Lee Filson retiring from C. Plymouth, because I'm the Select Board's liaison to C. Plymouth. And first of all, we're losing a treasure with her retirement. The energy that she's brought to that role has just been incredible. But the board has a lot of new blood on it and new ideas. So I do agree with you. I think this is an excellent time to think about how C. Plymouth fits into the downtown economic development plan that we talked about as part of our goals. So it's a great opportunity to take a step back and just think about, how we can work more effectively and how they can, support the town's longer-term strategies for economic development and tourism. So I think you're spot on there. I think that's awesome. The second thing I want to acknowledge is that school starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
All the kids are back in school tomorrow, and a number of us had an opportunity to go to opening day for teachers at Plymouth North on Monday. And that is just, if you've never had an opportunity to see that, and if you can watch it on the local scene or on YouTube, they do such an amazing job. It's such an inspirational, creative ceremony that they put on for the students are involved in it, and the teachers are recognized for, with inspiration awards. It's just a wonderful feel-good experience. But I'll comment on the energy level in that room. So the teachers are bringing a lot of energy, a lot of creativity, and a lot of enthusiasm to the school year. So I just, as a teacher myself, I just wish them all the best. And I hope everyone has a productive and happy and healthy school year.
Thank you, Ms. Iaquinto. All right. Any letters? You have a letter?
I don't have a letter, I just had one last comment on that subject of Burt's. I was just sitting here thinking that Plymouth has its Plymouth Rock, but Burt's has its rock in that in 1978, a rock came through the dining room and was situated in the lobby of that restaurant for some 35 years before it ended up in front of Burt's. So as they go to tear down Burt's, see if there's any chance we can retrieve the large boulder that was once known as the Burt's Rock.
Okay.
If I was guessing, they're probably gonna throw it at us, but we can ask.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know that they're going to be the most receptive audience to requests.
That's the first thing I could think of, Bill.
Considering they didn't exactly champ at the bit to tear their building down, but I guess it doesn't hurt to ask. In old business? All right, if there's no old business, do I have a motion to adjourn, having concluded our business?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Golden. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Iaquinto. Any discussion, objection? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
I do.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is unanimous. We are adjourned at 7:59. Thank you.